Hello and welcome to this supplemental lesson to the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge. Grab yourself a coffee, sit down, and I'd like to show you which Villa-Lobos etude you should learn first. You'd be surprised, it's not the one you think you should. Alrighty, so we're halfway through the Villa-Lobos 12 and 12 challenge. We have 6 etudes already in the bag. All of them are basic etudes that focus on one or two ideas. For the majority, they're right hand or right hand left hand coordination etudes, apart from number 3 and number 5. So number 3 is obviously all about legato, and number 5, that is just pure classical technique where we have a melody with bass and accompaniment. Number 1 is right hand and arpeggios, frozen. Number 2 is right hand arpeggios, broken. Number 4 is right hand repeated with arpeggios frozen. A frozen arpeggio is just a chord. Obviously number 5 is the melodic one of the 6. And then finally number 6 is right hand and frozen chords again, and then right hand alternation. Okay, so the big question is, which one should you learn first? Interestingly enough, most people learn from the beginning, number 1. And I would suggest that you don't. Why? Because number 1 is actually quite challenging. The easiest of the first 6, and I put easy in brackets, is number 6. Number 6 is the doorway to number 1 and number 2 and number 4. So I would suggest you pick number 6 to learn first. Why? It'll get you your left hand bar technique up and running. It'll get you used to Villa-Lobos's ideas, especially his use of juxtaposing chord shapes against open strings, and very specifically juxtaposing diminished chord shapes with open strings. It'll also introduce you to his use of the whole tone scale, because a lot of his ideas use the whole tone scale up and down. And it's not too much of a challenge in terms of right hand, because all you're doing is strumming chords, and you're strumming chords in a fixed pattern for the first half, and the second half is the same chords repeated but with a different right hand pattern. So ultimately number 6 is the easiest to dive into Villa-Lobos's first 6 studies. Then I would suggest you learn number 1, because number 1 is the king of the first 6 studies. It has everything in it, and it is able to be broken down into smaller sections to practice right hand alternation, left hand equal strength, bar technique. Number 1 will do all of that for you and more. It's a great study. Once you've got number 1 up and running, then I would suggest that you have a look at number 2. Now number 2 could be changed for number 4, but either way it should go 6, 1, 2 or 6, 1, 4 for the first 3 studies. After that, it really depends on what you want to do. If you need some left hand legato work, then obviously number 3 is the study to head for straight away, because obviously that is all that study is about. It is legato, and it moves up and down the fretboard, so it's a great legato exercise. Number 5 is the odd one out. Number 5 is a musical study. It is not a technique-based study. All of the other studies I've mentioned so far focus on 1 or 2 techniques, no more. Number 5 has a range of techniques, and it has classical guitar texture. It obviously mirrors or mimics a Bach invention, one of Villa-Lobos's great inspirations, and it actually is quite challenging to get up and running, because you need to be able to separate the melody from the bass and have this ostinato riff which runs through and have that clear. So I would actually say number 5 is the last one to learn of the first 6 studies. The choice is obviously yours, but based on the last 6 months of working through all of Villa-Lobos Etudes, this is what I have come to conclude. You need to start with number 6 first and then 1 and 2, because it would make your life a lot easier and will introduce Villa-Lobos to you in a gentle way. Hopefully that helped and helped you decide on which one to learn first. There is a second supplemental which will cover the last 6 etudes, and again it covers which one you should learn first or in which order to learn first. One thing to keep in mind is Villa-Lobos has structured the first 6 etudes by key, and I will go through that at another stage when I've finished all of them, but the 6 etudes at the front have been structured in a certain key relationship, again exactly like Bach. Hopefully you found this helpful. Please hit the like button, it always helps this channel, and join in the Villa-Lobos challenge. These are great etudes. I think everybody should learn them and not be put off by this perception that they're actually overly difficult. They are challenging, no doubt, but they will help your technique, which was the whole point of doing the challenge.